Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. We're going to start with first. Today is November 21st, 2023. It's 3:00 p.m. A copy of the Nebraska Opens Meeting Act is on the north wall of the county boardroom. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our Deputy County Clerk Renee Landsman. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to move first to the Board of Commissioners meeting and start with the awards, proclamations, and presentations, and then we'll come back to the Board of Equalization meeting after we complete. And we're going to start with employee recognition, years of service presentation for calendar year 2023, quarters 1 and 2. Dan Hoynes, County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellent idea to move these microphones into a swirling mic here. It's a lot easier, so glad I thought of that. Thank you and welcome all of you. So kind of gotten in the habit of helping HR in here, but I think they're cutting my speaking time down here because I like to tell stories about people. Yeah. So they give me 20.
Using it up right now, Dan.
Yeah. They're giving 25 names today, so I'm going to have to speed through. But I'm not saying I won't get through without telling a story or two. But first, globally, 25 people. That's a lot of people to recognize in one day. Represents 410 years of service to Sarpy County, 25 people. That's pretty amazing. That's 410 years. That averages 16.4 years per person now. In fairness, we have some outliers and some deviations we'll talk about a little bit here today, but still on average, that's a credit to the employees and to the county. So I'm going to call the department director up if they're here. Not everybody's here, but I'll still call them out and recognize them. The first one today is Board of Corrections, Julie Nielsen. Julie's not here, but it is Ryan Marr. If you could come up, Ryan, and accept this award on behalf of Julie. Julie's current job title is Operations Administrator Lieutenant, and she actually transferred over from the Sheriff's Office in 2022 to help us with that. So pass on our appreciations to Julie, Ryan. Thank you. Second, I didn't see Jake Burst here. Jake here, come on up. And Catherine, as it's listed on my sheet, Courtright. Is Kate here? She is not. Okay, 0 for 2. We're doing well. Not only you don't want to listen to me very long, you're not going to even show up for it anymore, but appreciate that. Kate is 10 years with Community Corrections, and she's a Community Corrections Specialist. Moving on, I did see County Assessor Dan Pittman. Mr. Pittman, is Thomas Friant? Is Thomas here? All right, well, we'll have you take that. Thomas's current job title is Real Property Data Collector, 10 years of service. So pass on our appreciation, Mr. Pittman. So I know one of them is here. County Attorney, Bonnie Moore, 10 years. So Leah, if you could come up with Bonnie. And we've got a host. I may ask both of you to stay up here because you're not only going to give this award to Bonnie, but then there's several people from your office that hit these milestones. So if you wouldn't mind, okay, Bonnie, I'm not going to do it. All right, I promise. Real credit and a joy to work with. Thank you, Bonnie. 10 years. So, you could stay up one or both of you here because we got Jill Nielsen. Is Jill here? Okay, she's not here. She also has a 10-year or 20-year award, 20 for Jill. All right, others from your office, Lee, Mary Blankman. Mary? Good. Come on up, Mary. Thank you. So, Mary, 30 years of service. That gets a hand clap at least, right? Unconscious. That's a long time. Mary started in 1993, even I can do that math, as a caseworker assistant, been promoted several times to her current position of Administrative Operations Manager, and she's been serving in that role since 2021, so thank you, Mary. Other county attorney's office, Kathy Healy. Is Kathy here? Yeah, she is. I see her walking up. Now, I am going to tell at least one story about Kathy, all right? For those of you who don't know, Kathy she's been here first about 20 years, victim witness advocate supervisor, started as a secretary in 2003. For those of you who don't know, she is the very proud mother of our communications director, Katie Glover. We'd actually interviewed Katie, and I was at an event, I think, at the sheriff's office, and I'd probably seen Kathy around the time, and she came up, tapped me on the shoulder, and she says, "Hey, Dan, hey, I'm Kathy." I said, "Yeah, I think we've met." She says, "Well, you're interviewing my daughter, and she's wonderful." I said, "Okay, Mom." But it was very good advice, Kathy. Thank you. She's been a blessing, too. So thank you for your service and for your daughter. County Clerk Register of Deeds. Somebody going to wrap up there? Renee, we've got Lisa McNulty. Is she here?
She is not.
All right. Well, we'll pass on our appreciation to her.
Thank you.
The other one, I'll wait for a moment. I'll come back to the next one. But 911. So Bill Muldoon, I saw you come up. He's got several. For those of you that have never been down in that dark building, this is maybe one of the tougher jobs we have in government. We've got 3 people, I think. 4. You turn my page, make sure I'm not missing. 4 people that are getting their tenure pins today. I'll call them up. You can come up and word it. Christy Kressler, if they're here, Ashley Lynch, Megan Poschel, and Claire Severin. Are any of them here?
No. They're days off and out of town, and since they were getting this award, they all booked their.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the rumors are out there. Well,
A lot of good leaders out there.
yeah, we should put out a policy that if you don't show up, we're going to tell a story about you. All right? Maybe. So thank you, Bill. If you could pass on to them. Very difficult job. Fiscal, Michaela Gansmere. Michaela started, her current job title is accounting specialist. I did see Bill Conlon come up. Bill, if you come up and accept this on behalf of Michaela. Hired as an accounting technician and promoted to an accounting specialist too. So if you could pass on our appreciation, Bill, to Michaela. Appreciate that. Juvenile Justice Center, Elaine Christensen. Elaine here. Anybody else from JJC? No, Elaine, going once, going twice. You're going to get applause 30 years. So, right, JJC, Elaine Christensen, right? So if you could pass that on. Now, is Tammy, she here? No.
No.
All right. We're going to go up the food chain and go to the sheriff. Then if you could pass on appreciation. All right. Thank you very much. And even her appreciation. And I know the Public Works, we had a couple in Public Works 30 years. Denny, if you could come, you've got them. You stand up in their proxy there, and the 30 years, you get a hand clap, all right? They're actually working on a bridge, and genuinely, Denny, if you could. Well, that's much more important than what we're doing here, but we did want to take a moment and appreciate them. Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Davis, you have Georgette Ashby and Rob Hildebrand. Either one of them here?
Georgette.
What's that? Georgette? Okay. All right, if you could come up and accept those on behalf of them. Georgette, currently titled job deputy sheriff, hired in position 2013 and previously worked. And Rob, we all know Rob. I got the pleasure of meeting him working in mental health early on in my tenure, and now he's got a whole unit there, and very, very kind, gentle soul, and a good man. And I haven't had the chance, at least I know, to meet Georgette, but I'm sure she's of like mind, Sheriff, so you could pass on appreciation to those 2 folks. There's also, maybe we have some others from the Sheriff's Office. Jason Jones, 10 years. Michaela Cordes. Michaela here. Jim Polans. Catherine Prestito, 10 years. Now I think I saw Cheryl here. Cheryl Straw. All right, you're going to have to carry all of them awards. Let's just clap for everybody at the Sheriff's Office and Cheryl and Melissa White, 10 years. So for the final two awards today, I'm going to ask the chairman and the members of the board if they wouldn't mind coming down to the lectern here for those awards. And then I have one more award to present before I hand it off to the chairwoman, Angie Burmeister, for the final two awards. The one award I have is a 10-year pin for Commissioner Kelly. I don't know if you knew you were there, commissioners. He's getting buffaloed. That's pretty cool. So, Don, on appreciation of all the employees, everything you've done for Sarpy County, your service to the in the military, to everything you do every single day, including, I'm glad we don't pay for minutes on cell phones anymore, because you and I would really be high on my commutes back and forth in there, but genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for your 10 years of service.
All right, it's been an honor.
So Sarpy County is truly blessed with great leaders. We've seen several here today. We've got a lot of longtime people and really appreciate everyone's service. But we have two members who have 50-year anniversaries this year, so we'd like to recognize those two people individually. They are Sheriff Jeff Davis and County Attorney Lee Polikoff. If you'll both come up and flank the side here, we'll call you out for a minute here.
50 years.
So the sheriff and Lee started at a time that Sarpy County's population in the 1970s was about 65,000 people, so that's about the size of the city of Bellevue today. They've seen the population in the county grow more than triple in size during their tenure here. Both are really dedicated public servants, and we're blessed to have them in Sarpy County leading us for such a long period of time. I'll start with Sheriff Davis. Sheriff Davis began his career as a 911 dispatcher at the age of 18. Calling you out on your age there a little bit. Sorry about that. Yeah. He worked his way through and up the department until he was appointed by the county board as sheriff in 2005. He was then elected to serve in 2006, and he's an FBI National Academy graduate, serves on the Nebraska Crime Commission, the National Safety Council, and is chairman of the Crime Victims Reparation Committee. During his years of service, he's received numerous awards, including the 1986 Elman Award, the 2007 Award of Excellence from Project Extra Mile, 2013 Life Saving Award, 2019 he was inducted into the Nebraska Sheriff's Association Hall of Fame. I got to go to that one. That was a great ceremony. 2023, his office, through his leadership and the hard work of his deputies and staff, received a CALEA accreditation. He's established many important programs and initiatives in Sarpy County, including a sex offenders registry, school resource officers, and Dare Great programs. The TRACE program in Sarpy County, Target Responsibility for Alcohol-Connected Emergencies to combat alcohol-related crashes. Project Lifesaver program designed to locate missing children with autism and adults suffering from Alzheimer's and other dementia disorders. Children at Risk and Care Education, the CARE program, and he's a staunch supporter of the Juvenile Justice Center. Is first responder training in Sarpy County, and one of the first departments in the Omaha metro area to have all deputies trained in mental health first aid. One of the priorities in Sarpy County is trying to be impactful in the area of mental health, and we really appreciate the sheriff in his expertise in that area. Sheriff Davis worked as a deputy on the Eberly Walden murders, and his career came full circle last year in establishing the Eberly Walden Crime Victims Memorial. He's highly respected by his deputies, staff, and the rest of us here in the county, and Sheriff Davis continues to bring collaborative and modern methods to keep our citizens safe, using best methods for individuals suffering from mental illness who enter the criminal justice system. Thank you for your 50 years of service. We're blessed to have you, and we appreciate all you do here in Sarpy County.
Commissioner Burmeister forgot to add that he's also in the first graduating class of Daniel J. Gross High School, 1972.
Didn't have to give the year date.
I did.
That wasn't necessary.
Moving on to our County Attorney Lee Polikoff. Lee has been the acting county attorney for 24 years. He was the chief deputy with the Sheriff's Department under Pat Thomas before becoming the county attorney. And at chief deputy and legal counsel for Sheriff Pat Thomas from 1973 to 1999. He's the executive director of Youth Opportunities Unlimited, U, summer camp program to provide opportunities for recreation, education, and career counseling to teenagers. He's chairman of the Douglas Sarpy Blood Donor Recruitment Committee for the American Red Cross and received certification in law enforcement investigative hypnosis. He's selected as the Outstanding Young Men of America in recognition of outstanding professional achievement, superior leadership ability, and exceptional service to the community. In 1983, he worked also on the Eberly and Walden homicide case and oversaw construction of the Law Enforcement Center with a new sheriff's office in jail in 1989, something that also has come full circle this year with our new jail. Been here through lots of different projects. He was first elected in 1999 and has served as county attorney since that time. During his term as county attorney, he grew the office from 12 to 26 attorneys to keep pace with the fast growth in the county, the fastest county growing in the state. 5 of those prosecutors became judges. Got the first facility dog in Nebraska, the first murder case in Nebraska wherein the victim had a facility dog during trial, something statistically proven to be very helpful. Oversaw efforts regarding finding the body of murder victim Brendan Gonzalez at the Sarpy County landfill, and instrumental in modernizing the office through implementation of case management systems. He's pioneered and supported many important issues in Sarpy County and is a strong advocate also for mental health initiatives. Some of those initiatives include creating a mental health diversion, establishment of the state's first wellness court. So also really instrumental in those mental health initiatives and a leader in that area statewide and probably nationwide, quite honestly. Lee likely doesn't recall this, but many years ago when I was a young new lawyer, one of our nephews was making some bad choices, got himself charged with some minor crimes. And as many of you know, I stay far away from the criminal side of the courtroom for a number of reasons, one of which is I'm terrible in that area. But I made an appearance to get a bond set for my nephew, and Judge Zastera overruled my motion to withdraw from the case after I got the bond set. And Lee was very helpful in helping me manage as a new lawyer in an area of law in which I was not, where I didn't feel competent, helped me to get things through, was very helpful to somebody new and young, and is always of the utmost professional person. So really appreciate your years of service, Lee. The county's blessed to have you. Thank you so much.
Don't see a holder.
Yeah, I was there.
Good if we go back into BOE, or do you want me to go through?
BOE.
BOE, okay, perfect. I think what we'll do is adjourn out of Board of Commissioners and go into Board of Equalization so that we can get our folks that are here for that meeting.
Recess.
I'm sorry, thank you, recess. And I think we need a motion for that, right? Do we need a motion to recess?
Yeah, but really, you weren't even in session. I mean, you opened it as the public meeting, but you didn't state commissioner or equalization, so as far as I'm concerned.
I can just start with BOE.
Yes, you can.
Perfect. I'll call the Board of Equalization meeting to order. Today's Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. It's now 3:20 p.m. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our Deputy County Clerk Renee Landsman. We also have our County Assessor Dan Pittman present. And we'll start with the consent equalization agenda. Item 4, would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda, or if not, a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Warren.
You got it.
Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item 5.1 is protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation change to state statute for parcel 011-590-727, Tony Ellsworth. Is the property owner present? If you'd like to just come to, yeah. No, have at. So come on up to the podium here, and actually, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the microphone, you can take it around the other side so that you can address us. And we'll need your name, and then spell your last name and give your address.
Sure.
And then you can address us any way you like.
Okay. My name's Tony Ellsworth. Did you say spell that?
Yes, please.
Okay. TonyEllsworth.
And your address.
21671 South 196th Circle, Springfield.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then whatever you'd like us to know.
Okay. First of all, thank you for taking time to listen to me. I've actually received a lot of help just getting here. So first time I've met Dan Pittman face to face. So thank you, Dan, for your help. I've been in Sarpy County for about 30 years. I lived in Nebraska all my life, except for my time in the service. I was a Navy veteran stationed out of San Diego. When the end of my enlistment came up, I moved right back to Nebraska. So I'm fourth-generation Nebraska ag, proud of Nebraska, proud of Sarpy County. We live out on Springfield, just like I mentioned, Tram Park on a hill overlooking the Platte. My wife's from Colorado. I told her that's as close as I can get her. So we've lived out there since 2017. When I first moved out there, needed some help, called Mr. Pittman and got the special valuation. So that's where this all started. Had a dream as a veteran farmer. We just have 5.05 acres or whatever all together there. When I first took over the property, hay and fruit trees. So like I said, we had a dream though. We did some ambitious things. We now have cattle. I got ducks, I got chickens, along with many other things. 2021 started a business, Ellsworth Crossing. It's a farm to fork market. We've been open for coming on 3 years. I now have 100 farmers, ranchers, producers, small businesses under one roof. A lot of them, they all raise holistically and humanely. A lot of them are in similar positions to me. So this is important and why I'm here to take some time with you guys today. So when I first got the letter, I'll just tell you, it was very disheartening. I came home after a long day. We're a family-owned business, opened the letter, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, but just like I tell you, I have a lot, as you guys can imagine, up at the store, I got plenty of inspectors. When they come through the front door, the first thing I tell them is, I'm here to comply. So, but then we start talking as a small business owner, you work it out or whatever. So I talked to Dan Pittman, and he gave me some suggestions. I did make some phone calls. One of them was to Senator Holcroft. Very helpful, very great conversation with him. And he kind of explained some of it. I do understand, they're at Gretna with VALAs and some of the ideas behind that. I know it was meant to help. I explained to him my situation. He said, well, this was an unintended consequence, and thank you for bringing it to my attention. He actually told me that, January he would get something up there, and he's hoping to have something changed, before the end of the year. I'm not a politician. I don't know how much that means, but I appreciate Senator Holcroft's sentiment and listening to me and understanding. I actually got several other calls back from other senators' offices with the same sentiment and passing that along. So that's where I'm at today. I don't know what else I could either answer or say. We're actually during the busiest part of our season. It's Thanksgiving. We actually do pasture-raised turkeys and such. So my wife and daughters and the other part of the family are out there holding up while I'm here. So that's I think all I had to present, unless y'all have any questions of me.
Questions for Mr. Ellsworth?
You have 5 acres now.
Yes, it's 5.05, but you exclude the buildings, so now I'm under. And the way I understand it is it's adjoining land. There is pasture behind me, but I don't know what my neighbor would think if I made him an offer for whatever, so.
Any other questions for Mr. Ellsworth? Unfortunately, we don't get to make the rules here. We just have to follow the rules that the state legislature makes for us. And sometimes we do support legislation that change things like this because we see people in the boardroom who've been affected by that. And it's also frustrating for us at times when we have to make a ruling based on someone else's way that they crafted the law that came down. So it leaves us with very little options at this board. But thank you for coming in, Mr. Ellsworth, and also thank you so much for your service. We appreciate it.
I do have one question. You mentioned the building takes out of your acreage. How does, and maybe Mr. Pittman or our attorney can explain that. Why does that take away from the acreage?
Because the definition of agricultural land, it only includes land which is being used for agricultural purpose and is specifically excludes the homestead, the house, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So if the homestead's used as an office which supports the agricultural operation, how can that be excluded?
Yes, yep. Yep.
What are we on?
Gator Navy USS Fort McHenry,
What's that, LHD or?
LSD.
Yeah, I was on LHA.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to make that connection.
Gator Navy, yeah, there we go. I liked him for some reason. The question was about dwellings. The statute basically reads that any land associated with buildings or enclosed structures is not considered agricultural land for these purposes. So you get like a house and you go, yeah, that's an office and stuff like that. You even get like a barn.
But see, to me, it's sitting on land. It's sitting on land. Yes, it's taking that portion out of the 5 acres as far as that production, but it's still land. There's land under that building.
And it's valued. It's valued like any residential property. It's a rural residential property.
And I get that. I understand that. I just that it takes away, and all of a sudden he has 5.05 acres. Now he doesn't, because it's the acreage that you're actually using for the farm. But the other buildings are supporting all of that, and it's still sitting on it. It's just hard for me to say, okay, there's 5.05 acres. Now there's not 5.05 acres just because there's a building sitting on the other piece. There's still that acreage there. Okay.
True. Keep in mind that even in strictly rural counties, which are most of Nebraska counties, that applies to them too. You know, the guy that has got acres and acres of corn and beans, where his house sits, where his barn sits, his shed, they value that differently. They value that as non-ag.
Okay.
In the tax record, Dan, where does it break out? What percent of the 5.05 acres is land and what part is buildings?
I have that.
Can you put the tax record up on the screen so we could take a look at that?
Okay, this is Mr. Ellsworth's property. So if you look, I don't know how well you can see it on the computer because it's so much smaller than it is on the big screen, that the lane, the house, anything devoted to buildings and yard is not considered agricultural. Now, that grass area, that hay and all, is certainly agricultural, and that's the area that receives a special valuation. I need to stress something at this point. This is still considered agricultural land, and the Constitution tells us that that's a separate class of property and it'll be valued within its class. So that land, under the new law, will be valued at 75% of what it would really sell for. So if Mr. Ellsworth put a sign in the yard, was gonna sell it, that portion, for tax purposes, the grass portion, is at 75% of full market. What Mr. Ellsworth has had up until now is 75% of a single-use market, which is for ag use only. Sarpy County, for almost 30 years, has not had an ag market. So there's 5 counties that the county assessor goes to and gets sales from a true ag market to value Mr. Ellsworth's grassland. It's a lot cheaper than what he is paying now, and there's our math right there. Right now, that land is worth $122,097. At 75% of full market, it's $181,572. I don't like talking about taxes, but this is usually where the conversation goes. So if you look at the tax liability, that means about $704 worth of taxes that would be, if you used the 2023 numbers, it would be about $700 more taxes under this new law.
So what you're saying is the total 5.05 acres was valued at 75%, and now only 3.14. But in the tax record itself, where's that breakout? Where does that show me that? What you're showing on the screen right now? Where would I find that in the tax record?
I'll be happy to show it to you. I don't have that with me. It's online, so I'd have to log in at sarpy.gov and get the whole breakout.
Oh, okay.
But this is a breakout on the money part, and the acres. 3.14 is agricultural, and 1.91 is devoted to site.
Well, I mean, I pulled up just FYI. I mean, what would I click on in the tax record to find the breakout? Because I have this parcel up right now on my phone.
Okay.
So where would the breakout of the land be?
Okay, you want us to go into the county's website and look up his record?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I'm just a little perplexed by the distinction. But in the interest of time, why don't you can show me later.
Okay.
It's fine.
I think he's gonna let us
I'll
do this later.
Oh, okay.
I guess the other question I had, and we got it, by the way, Dan, we did get a email from the attorney today that really made no sense to me. Not a criticism. I'm just a layman, not an attorney. But why are we doing this today? Because we have to make it effective back to June of this year? Or, I mean, why are we doing this now? Why aren't we doing this during the normal protest season?
No, this is a time for it. The governor signed this bill into law on June 6th of 2023. Then the state, the Department of Revenue rewrote the reg, issued the reg to the county assessor, instructed the county assessor on best practices to notify that all the affected properties, in our case, it's about 50 properties, that they will be removed from special valuation of 2024. Because we're in the process of setting the 2024 values right now, we need to let the taxpayer have an opportunity to protest and see if the county board is going to come down differently on this and the county assessor. So it's fairly timely.
Okay. And Mr. Ellsworth, do you have any other agricultural land that may not be contiguous to your home site?
No, that's my only land that I own.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the business, and but part of why I'm here too is just like I said, our business. We represent 100 different farmers, ranchers, producers, and they're all small in similar situations. So.
And just out of curiosity, when you file your taxes, do you file a what is that?
Schedule F.
Form F?
Schedule F.
Yeah. Do you file those?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't do my own taxes. My accountant does, but I believe so, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is there an exception if you file that form that you can be under 5 acres?
No, that exception was removed.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I think, I just want to expand. I think with Commissioner Kelly on the contiguous, you do not have to have contiguous land. So if you had other agricultural land, and Mr. Pittman, can you help me on that? Could it even be in a different county?
I don't know. That's coming up in another protest, so I'm gonna let the county attorney handle that because they had to research that for us. You okay with that?
From our research, agricultural land is defined as a parcel. A parcel is defined as basically land which exists under the same taxing district. So if there were 2 plots of land that perhaps existed within the same taxing district, we might have an argument that it could all count towards the same total. But when you have 2 parcels that exist in completely separate counties, those taxing districts are very far removed and they cannot count together.
Okay. All right. And I'm just going to make one comment. You would brought it up, Mr. Ellsworth, regarding Senator Holcroft, and hopefully he can get something corrected or whatever needs to happen, because this is what happens. As Chairman Burmeister mentioned, there's unintended consequences sometimes by what's created in Lincoln, and then it flows down to this level. And it's very frustrating to sit up here and to listen, and we have some authority, but very limited authority. So again, Senator Holcroft, I would stay in touch with him, and hopefully whatever, we can do, or whatever he can do to correct some of whatever the change in law was that started all of this.
Sure. No,
So-
I very much appreciate that. And I did tell Senator Holcroft, he said that he would present this in January. He said it would take some time. He said it kind of gave me a timeline expectation. Again, I have no knowledge of this. But I did offer to, he said that he may use me to testify if I can help in any way. I offer myself to do that.
What he'll probably be doing is introducing a legislative bill to correct.
Sure.
And that's, the legislature starts again in January, so that's what he's probably looking at doing.
Okay.
But, and thank you for your patience and all of this as well. And I'm glad to hear you're working well with Mr. Pittman as well and all of that. And it goes a long way, you know. All right, thank you.
I have nothing good but good things to say about SARPI. If I can ask one more question. Sure. So I just want to try and understand what you were saying. Were you saying within SARPI 2 more acres? Because I think when Mr. Pittman and I first spoke, it had to be connected. And if we don't have an answer yet, I understand that as well.
Technically, the language of contiguous was removed, but in conjunction with other statutes, it still has to be read to be in a similar area, basically so that the taxing would be the same.
Within county?
Possibly, but there are some variations across the county of a tax district depending on rural fire, things like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Because it's brand new law, it hasn't been interpreted, so we don't know. We don't know what would pass muster and what wouldn't, but thank you.
We call that progressive elaboration. So as a business owner and farmer, I'm used to that. So thank you very much for your time. I apologize in advance, no disrespect, but I have to leave and go back to help with Thanksgiving.
Sure, thank you so much. Have a good Thanksgiving.
So I'm gonna side with Dan. I'm more confused on this, or Don, more confused on this as time goes by. So my question is, why wouldn't we just put these on hold for 60 days, 90 days, whatever that is, until we can get a clear interpretation? Because it sounds like you've got a law, and then you've got the state's attempt to interpret the law, and
basically, they made the changes went into effect immediately, but because of other statutes that exist within the special valuation agricultural, if it if it qualified on January 1st and loses qualification at some point through the year, the special valuation continues for the year and only falls off for the next year. So the timeline that we have now is the statute went into effect already. This, as Dan mentioned, is the timeline on which valuations are looked at for January 1st, 2024. It's when they start gathering all the data. They're sending out the notices now in order to alert the taxpayers that, hey, this is coming up when we set your preliminary valuation. If you have additional information you want us to consider, please get it to us before that. If the legislature convenes in January, well, when the legislature convenes in January, if they address this change and propose a bill that would address the unintended consequences and it gets passed in the session, then similar to what happened this last year with the annex properties, anybody who was removed, if the legislative change addresses that, they would still be able to apply, and that would be retroactively applied to January 1st. So the timeline is, it's a little convoluted just because of corresponding statutes that play in the timeline when special valuation can be determined, when it can be retroactive, when it can't be. So I do understand it's a little convoluted, but as Dan mentioned, the timeline right now for sending out the letters, we're not going to have a better clarification on January 1st. This is just helping the assessor's office to make sure they have all information that may possibly be available so that they can address those valuations and get them out when they're required to.
I saw one of the letters, and it has respond to this within 30 days. Is that a state mandate, or was that just our?
That's by statute. Any letters that are sent out or any decisions of the county board have to have a protest or appeal filed within 30 days.
That's another part of my problem is, I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with the farming community, but you send them something October 1st, they may not look at their mail for 30 days. I mean, they're out in the process like this gentleman. We pulled him away from his operation, and now he's got to go back to it. It's the timing is horrible, and again, this is one of those things that I can't make a decision on. I got to agree with it. Well, no, I don't. Otherwise, why would it come to us? If this is just a rubber stamp, why do I have to agree with what mandate they hand down? That rubs me wrong.
I understand. It's the check and balance system to make sure
There's
that.
no check and balance. If I can't check, there's no balance.
Well, the check is to ensure that the assessor has acted correctly in following the statute. If for some reason the letter went out to a parcel that was 15 acres, your action would be to say, no, we're not denying special valuation. So that's where the check comes in. And then further going on is the appeal process to Turk. It's supposed to act as another check.
Did you make sure I heard that correctly? Did you say if there would be some legislation in 2024 that's passed, would it come back retro to January 1, 2024?
Depending on the language written into the statute, it is possible. That is what happened this last year. If you recall, the property that was annexed in Gretna technically was all removed from special valuation upon annexation. This past legislative session, LB 727, which created the 5-acre issue, allowed for parcels within the corporate boundaries of a city to qualify for special valuation. As soon as that was passed, any property that had been annexed was allowed to apply for special valuation, and as long as they got it in before the deadline, I think they had a little more than 30 days maybe, they were able to qualify and get special valuation for the 2023 year.
Any other questions, or does someone have a motion?
We only have 6? That's my question. We only have 6 5-acre parcels that don't qualify for
I
special
believe
valuation?
there's a few more on next week as well.
Okay. I would think there'd be a lot more.
Mr. Pittman said 50.
50?
Yeah.
50 some, or 50.
So this is just the tip of the iceberg here? $50?
But of those, only certain ones protested, right?
Okay. These are people that actually filed the protest?
when those letters went out, I talked to a lot of people, and some just said, yeah, okay. Some said, well, wait a minute, I own something next door, and it's like in a corporate name. And then if they can show that they have ownership in that corporation, then that was contiguous. So we could say, all right, fine, you stay in Greenbelt. There were several of those, so those worked out really well. And it's always nice when you can give people good news. Like Annie said, there'll be more protests next week and maybe the following week, but probably not many more.
Okay, thanks. Do we have to rule on each hearing individually, or can we just group them all
I'm
together?
going to make a motion that we go ahead and do the hearings, but we table any decision on this for 30 days.
Well, I think it's going to take that long anyways, just to get through all
because
these
it's-
hearings probably,
So
so.
if we go back, maybe by then, there's a way to figure out what needs to be done. But I don't feel like I've got enough information to make a
I
decision.
kind of like that idea, only in that if anything changes in the next week or two, or we get more clarity, it would be good not to have to go back and correct something. If we just leave it open and make a decision. What's today? I guess the last meeting of the year before we go sine die, we could make it. We should have enough information to make the decision by then. Although I personally don't think, based on what I heard today, a lot's going to change, but there's a possibility, especially on the contiguous land issue. That seems about as clear as mud right now, but that might change a few for sure. So I'd hate to make a ruling on something, especially if it was an issue that's still a little bit ambiguous, and then have to go back and change it.
Mr. Pittman, would you be able to, I know we're going to have more of these, but would you be able to show the effect of, you said there were 50 to start, and some worked out where they're going to keep theirs no change, okay? So what do we get down to? I'm throwing a number. Is that number now 40? Whatever the number is, whatever's left of, and whether a person protested or not, if there's 40 properties that are changing, can you put together a little Excel spreadsheet or whatever and show the exact tax amount for each one?
Oh, okay.
Or
That's an incredible amount of work. I mean, we are just, is it really the taxes that matter here? It's about valuation. I mean, I say this respectfully because you know, we're continuing on. We're cranking out 2024 values now. I'm going to go back and run an Excel spreadsheet to see what the tax difference would be. When that's not, I don't think that's material to what we're trying to decide. We're talking about valuation. What's it going to be valued at?
Can I ask you a question about that, since you brought it up? You, Dan. On like a 160 acre parcel, we always cut out the first acre and we value it differently because it's got the buildings on it. Is that what we're doing here? Are we doing the same regression formula
yeah, it was on.
on a 5 acre parcel as we are on a 160 acre parcel?
Okay, all land is valued with a model. And you have to model it because you have to equalize all similar land. That way you can't just grab one, value it this way, grab the next one, value it that way, because there has to be some harmony there. Yes, these are all under the model.
Okay.
So, but it's applied to all the land, not just the non-ag land. When I was running these numbers for you, well, here, let me pull one up for you. Mr. Ellsworth, so there it is right now. If you look in the left-hand corner, there's the model. That model, it has its first acre value, the second, third, and fourth acre value, and then anything above 5 acres. So I broke the model out, ran all the values, and when you see the 1.00, that means 1.91 acres has to be valued at 100% of fair market value. 3.14 has to be valued at 75%. So that's how we came up with the 181,572. So yes, the model is applied to all land.
Okay, thanks.
So Annie, in order to get clarity on these questions that have been asked, is the way we get clarity by having cases appealed to Turk and then having decisions come back, or is it possible that we will know something more in 30 days?
I don't necessarily anticipate further direction within the next 30 days from Department of Revenue or anything like that. That doesn't mean that they won't come out with something, but I don't anticipate any at this time. Any decisions that ultimately go to Turk are definitely going to be outside of 30 days. In addition to that, the county board by statute has to make a decision on protests within 30 days of the filing date. I believe we could table for a week. And I can reach out to different entities and see if I can get additional information in the next week. But beyond that, we'd have to check individual dates on the protests to make sure that we were acting within 30 days.
So, but he said they're going to be coming in for the next 2 weeks.
Not all of them were filed on the same day. So this first, the ones that were for today were filed first, and then as they continued to be received by the clerk, they were set however many weeks out that they needed in order to give the protesters notice that a hearing was being set.
I'm going to make a slight amendment motion and motion that we table decisions. Go ahead and do the public hearing, but table decisions for 1 week.
For how long?
Motion
1
to
week.
table for a week, made by Commissioner Warren. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
I don't see a voting block.
I've got
You're
mine.
all good, ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item 5.2 is protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation, change to state statute for parcel 011-591-838 Justin Hess. Is there somebody from the Hess family that would like to talk on this matter? If you want to come straight up to the podium here.
Have a sleeping baby back there.
Okay. Keep an eye on them. And if you'll just state your name and spell your last name and then give your address, that'd be great.
Janice Hess, Hess, 16025 South 234th Street. I have to tell you, I have 95% hearing loss, so I'm going to rely on reading your lips. I hit a deer out on a rural road and I lost my hearing. I'm a public servant. I teach in public education, but we also have a horse operation between my son, Justin, my daughter, Chris. We have 4 properties in Sarpy County. And this one happens to be the smallest. The others are over 10 acres. This one is the birthing center. We're going to have twins on March the 11th. And those have to be kept away from the other horses because we have performance horses as well. There's a possibility, we're in this, this is an expensive proposition. The day that one of those babies is born, it's going to be worth about $40,000 because the dad is a world champion. I bought another very expensive horse yesterday. This is about 3 acres, and on this, we have 2 birthing centers, and we have, Lanahaw made us an orchard. We're going to sell fruit. We have 6 different kinds of fruit that we're growing, and we also have a chicken operation. And then on about 1 3/4 acres, we bale that in small bales for small baby horses. So it's an integral part of our operation. I don't I mean, it's going to screw things up if you zone it something else. And we've been doing this for 30 years. My daughter and I are also Sarpy and Douglas County equestrian 4-H leaders. And so we have 4-H kids that we work with also. So, and there's a riding area on this property, a small one. Just our big riding arenas are on 2 other properties. But we have to have this as part of our birthing operation. I mean, this just makes no sense to take it away from us.
So this would not change the zoning. So if you use it agricultural now, you'd use it for agricultural later. What it affects is your taxation on that property. So you can still continue to use it, but it would be a little more of a financial burden as far as the operation. So.
And I don't agree with that. I mean, it's right up against the interstate.
Right.
It's not suitable for housing for most people. My son lives there, but it's not, you would not live there probably. It's horrible, but it's fine for birthing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine for orchards, and it's fine for chickens. They don't care. And so, that's a part, and the other 2 properties, my daughter's property and my property, we also have chickens. So we have a fairly good-sized operation going on. And, it was approved as ag, and then it was taken away from us.
Questions? You mentioned that there's 4 properties total that you own?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I own more than that, but when I'm talking agricultural properties in Sarpy County.
Okay.
I own a farm in Gage County, but.
In Sarpy County, are those properties all in your name?
This one was, and because I'm almost 80 years old, I've kind of moved them into other kids' properties, but I'm the manager of the horse operation.
Okay, you don't look 80 years old.
Thank you. My mom maybe made a mistake on the date.
Dan, would you know which those other properties are from speaking with her? Sure. I just want to know if we know them.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I just want to know if we know where they are in case.
Yeah, and they're getting Greenbelt. They're not in this tax district. They're in different parts of Sarpy County. And this one is, Justin's your son, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this one was put in his name. Now, when we look at, if there's like et al., there's others, we look and see if that person's who owns that land is on this property too, and we count that typically. At least we give it some consideration. In this case, it's not one of those deals.
That's because I'm old.
It's because you're old? Well, we factored that in, Janice.
Sure you did.
Here it is, if you can see on your screens. It's right up against I-80. So you see T2, which is a piece of timber area. Then there's a house with a small lane and a yard. And then all that dry area would be the horse operation. So it's a very small parcel. Let me show you one more slide.
The new orchard is on the north side, all along there. It's that new orchard.
Okay, on that northern boundary.
And then the chicken operation is over here.
Okay. Now, in this case, and Commissioner Mixon will talk about taxes here. If you look at the site is 1.05, the ag acres are 1.79 for a total of 2.84. The tax, it's still ag land. Remember, it's still ag land. It's just, they just don't call it special value. And the tax difference is $363. Now, it's more than it was. It's not a terrible hit, but it's because of 2 things. It's a small piece of ag land, and the tax rate is low. So,
But the orchard that's to the north of it doesn't count in the.
No, if you look at the aerial, it looks like there might be some trees planted there now, but it's really not an orchard yet. It may be in the future that would be an orchard.
Well, they're planted.
Yeah, it's more, anything you see to the north, you kind of count off as a windbreak, but I believe we have the lines drawn correctly. And I've got to tell you, even if we drew a line across that orchard and said, yeah, we'll call that whatever, it's still, the whole parcel's not even up to 5 acres. So there's no way you get 5 acres out of that.
And then, but our county attorney is going to look at if non-contiguous land qualifies, right?
I'll look to see if I have any leeway there
Guidance
for you.
on that. So would you know, do you know her other properties in?
I do.
Okay. I just want to be sure that we don't need to have her tell us what they are in the event that the guidance changes based on
I'll do 3
Annie's.
under your name,
Oh, let's see. I think they are still.
under Janice House.
Yeah, but right down the road from this one is 20 acres of alfalfa, right down the road.
Okay, under Janice, so,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. The county attorney is going to look into our options for us. We are limited on what we can do because of the state statute, but the county attorney is going to look into it for us.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we need to vote on these individually, Annie? To table them? Or Renee?
I think, yes, if we could.
Okay.
Well, you've got people coming up and talking to you anyway, so you want to address them as they come, or you want to try and, we already did one way. You want to keep going that way?
Do you want to just make a motion, Jim?
I'd like to table all of them.
Okay. The motion
I
is,
added that into the motion for all of them. when it
okay,
comes
so
up
we
for
can
you
just
guys.
talk through the rest.
Okay.
Sounds good. So we'll go on to protest, number 5.3, protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation, change to state statute for parcel 011597900, Ronald and Janelle Proxel. Is anyone here for the Proxel property? Seeing no one. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
This might be informative, if you would indulge me on the Proxel property. They're not here, but let's, if you don't mind, let's take a quick look at that. Can you switch that back? Or? Thank you. See, here's a Proxel property, and look at that. There's this big, you go, yeah, is that ag? Sure, even city people can tell that that's row crop. And then you see there's a big site with a long driveway, like a road that serves a property behind there and the house. What's unique about this, and this is how far we dig into these things, the neighbor to the north and the neighbor to the west are family. So he farms part of this with family. I wrote to him and I said, is your name on those other parcels? Because if that's the case, then there'll be joint ownership and I can count them all. So out of curiosity, I counted all the acres that we have as ag just in case he came back and said yes. And even when I add it all up, it still doesn't get to 5 acres, the whole ag portion. So that was rather moot then. So, but that is the extent that we went into to try and give people the benefit of the doubt on whether or not they get agricultural special value, is by trying to combine them with something they may own next door, even if it's family. But so anyhow, I just thought that was rather enlightening. And then, of course, there's the damages. This is a $300 tax difference. It was $107,000. It went to $125,000. Still ag value, but not that as generous like special value.
Any questions for Dan on that? Thanks, Dan. Item number 5.4 is protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation, change to state statute for parcel 011612474, Mitchell Deso. Is anyone here on the Deso property?
I've talked to Mr. Deso several times. He lives in Arizona, so I'll be surprised if there'd be anybody here. We went over his properties to, he was trying to get a clear understanding of if he had any opportunity. And if you look at this, if I had the bigger map, there's this huge cornfield north of him, and he goes and buys a little L-shaped piece with a home and some dry row crop off that big field and some grass that he pays. But the thing isn't even 5 acres, and even though the majority of it is ag, 3.88, and he has a small site that's less than an acre. So he went from $170,000, this is a bigger one, $70,000 on the land value to $132,000. So I don't have the tax hit there. I don't know why I didn't total the taxes, but it's different, it's higher, so.
Any questions for Dan on this one? Okay, item number 5.5 is protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation change to state statute for parcel 011-230-053, Clayton and K. Reeves.
I'm Kay Reeves. My last name is spelled R-E-E-V-E-S. I live at 16122 South 120th Street, Springfield, Nebraska. And I'm here to protest the removal of our special ag valuation. Our property has been issued a farm number by the FSA. It's recognized by the federal government as a farm, and it has a farm schedule filed with the IRS. And we're probably the ones who brought up the contiguous. A review of the revised Nebraska statute 46, section 77-1344 revealed that the wording that the 5 acres be contiguous was removed. The revised statute states only that a total of 5 acres, which we do have 5 acres. The copy of the statute was attached to our protest, and you can refer to the section that was lined out, which was the change. The letter does explain that. It has that part typed in. As the state statute covers all agricultural land in the Nebraska, regardless of the county that it's located in. We do have ownership into other farm properties located in Madison County. One is 135 acres of crop land of a 150-acre farm, and we have a third ownership of a 69 crop acres in a second farm. And I guess my question is, obviously this has been looked into, what defines a tax district, and how do you figure out what your tax district is, because you're saying that the land has to be in the tax district. What statute is the statute that defines that? I mean, because you sound like you have several different tax districts within even the county. So how does that, where is that defined in state statute?
In the taxation statutes, there are different taxing authorities granted to various different entities. The county is one, the cities have their own taxing authority, the school districts, rural fire districts, the agricultural society. Each one of those has their own district over which they have the ability to issue it or to levy a tax in. And so those are defined throughout a variety of different statutes.
So, for example, if you owned land that was in the Springfield School District and you owned land that was in the Gretna School District, for example, then you aren't in the same tax district, is what you're trying to say?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I appreciate any consideration that's given to this matter, because, I mean, those questions, that is not defined in that particular statute. The statute does not address tax district. And you're talking about assessment of property values, and then you're talking about taxation as separate things, but at the same standpoint, you're looking at different statutes for information to address that. Does that make sense to you? I mean, because you're saying we're using this, I'm sorry, we're using this taxation statute to address this part, but we're using this statute to address this definition.
Right.
And I think that is something that has to be addressed. I mean, okay, I've worked for state government for 32 years, and I know how the statute thing works. So just would like that addressed and resolved. Do you have questions for me?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that if you draw it out a little further, if you have a large property and it's going to cut across different taxing districts.
Exactly.
So that seems like a backdoor attorney kind of justification.
I mean, you could
not a practical, not a practical explanation. So, I mean, it clearly delineates that it doesn't have to be contiguous. It doesn't say, oh, and in parentheses, see revenue statute XYZ because we got you anyways. It doesn't say that. So this one is one that I'm particularly cued in on, and I was so kind of surprised by it. I shared it with all the commissioners. I said, this one doesn't look right to me. Not that any of them do personally. I just think this is egregious. And I'm the guy that said, hey, I don't want people to take advantage of special valuation if they don't have an agricultural enterprise going. And unfortunately, for the people that do, it's the people that don't that have drawn attention to this. I mean, I call them hayseed plowboys, you know, after that song by Trisha Yearwood. They put a bale of hay in their front yard and say, I'm a farmer, you know, as they drive up at their $1 million mansion. But that's not the case in most of the properties that we're hearing about today. These people actually are doing agriculture and enterprise. And it's clear that they are, because if they weren't, they wouldn't have 3.5 or more acres sitting with grass on it. It doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, we appreciate you coming in though, okay? I mean, it's a good argument.
Any other questions for Ms. Reeves? Yeah, these are always frustrating for us. If we were the ones writing the statute, the statute would have been written differently, but as it is, we have to interpret what somebody else wrote that in this instance isn't written very well. So
Hey, one thing I'll point out too, you know, I get it's 5 acres today, but we have people with a lot more acres and lodges on their property that don't do anything agriculture, and yet they get special valuation because they send us a picture of a pallet of timber or something like that. So it's not just the 5 acres where there's abuses, but the statute doesn't allow our county assessor to do anything other than give them special valuation, because by the letter of the law, they meet the requirement. But that doesn't make it right. It just makes it legal. If you can, there's a nuance there, but appreciate you coming in.
thank you for coming in. We're going to look at every option that we have, so we'll table it a week. Item number 5.6 is protest hearing, disapproval of agricultural special valuation, change to state statute for parcel 010380825, Michael and Christy Eilers.
You should have brought Christie up. You'd have done
She
better.
wanted to know if she could come up.
She's welcome to come up too.
But it's Michael, so M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Ehlers, E-H-L-E-R-S, 15905 Flug Road,
What road?
Paflug Road, P-F-L-U-G. It's
Depends on what part of the county you're in.
P-F-L-U-G, Springfield. And I too am here as we learn to protest the ag special evaluation. We are out, and I think we're learning too that yes, it's a state. It was a state legislature that did it, but I got the letter from Dan, so that's why I guess we're here. We own the property that we have. We do farm, and there is proof. I file. That is my main source of income. So my Schedule F that we are farmers. So I feel like I would like to show that as proof. We have a 578, which is USDA. We rent the ground around the property too, and have for 50 years. And so that would be proof that we do farm in Sarpy County. And we do own, as they do too, we have ground, we own 50 acres that is completely agricultural. But I'm assuming it's in the Gretna School District, so I don't know if that's gonna affect that or not either. That we could throw the two together, that's something that we learned today that would be interesting to know. I don't know how much it affects my tax value as going forward. I tried to call their office yesterday and nobody called me back today to see, because it might only be $300 or $700, I don't know. But we only do, I guess I would also like to say that the buildings on our place, that is our main, it is our home, yes, but that's where we make all of our ag decisions. That is the office, there is a shop there. We have grain storage. I have 25,000 bushels of corn in 2 grain bins that I am taxed on those grain bins too, and they are wrote down as grain storage. So as far as we do have some of the land is, yes, there's buildings on some of it, and some of it is standing brome. We either pasture it or we hay it. There's cattle facilities there. And I guess that's all I was going to say today. I guess I would be curious if you have any questions.
Dan, could you bring up the property, the picture of this one? Because we don't have it in our agenda.
Okay, there it is. Does the Luisa's, are they the ones that have all the land around? Is it the Luisa's? Looks a lot like.
No.
Okay, it's someone else.
Different.
So there's a parcel, you see the grass, the southern half, and the northern half would be mainly site. So the total acres of the whole legal is 3.76 acres. So we'll never get to 5 unless we had something that was adjoining, that was being managed in conjunction with this parcel plus had ownership in it. And the total ag portion of this is 1.6 acres. So then the math on that, I think you were talking about taxes, 190, 171 was the estimate. And because the land would go from 117.5 to 133, almost 134, still is ag land, but not a special valuation at 75%. So just under $200 for what the tax estimate would be. If it was done this year, we don't have next year's numbers yet. So.
Okay.
So-
Sorry.
So let me ask, what, because I look at less than $200, and don't get me wrong, $200 is $200. But my point is, what is driving, because Mr. Pittman, you mentioned you're looking at the assessment, the valuation, and I understand that. Taxes aren't set by you. Valuation is set by your office, but valuation affects taxes.
Yes.
Obviously. And then we're all here. You're caught in the middle, and the legislature has started all this, okay? So we're protesting these valuations and this taking off the special valuation. And what I was asking you earlier is to look at all the tax implications, because I think that's important of how much the difference really is. Because I think everybody's getting excited about our valuations keep going up, up, and up. And then obviously that happens, taxes usually follow in the same, not as much. But what I'm getting at is the valuation creating the problem? Are we not looking at what the effect is on the bottom line? And that's the actual tax. I mean, what are you looking at, sir? Are you looking at the valuation or how much more you're going to pay in taxes?
I would say it was what you always wonder, what are you going to pay more in taxes?
Okay.
And again, if I did not know that it's 191, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But there again, when I read that now I'm going up to 75%, I tried calling the office yesterday and I'm like, I don't know where we're at currently, which maybe that's my fault.
See, and this is getting to my point. You're coming in because you're thinking, boy, I'm losing a lot here.
Yeah.
And now you see it's $191. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that that's not a lot of money, but I think what we have to do, because we're causing, it seems like we're causing a lot of grief and getting people excited. And I'm thinking that maybe when we send this out and we're saying, okay, this is going to happen, but what is, give them an estimated, did we provide any of these people an estimated tax increase because of this?
The letter?
Okay.
I can answer that. No, it's like, and we didn't even treat it like a change of valuation notice. The statutory requirements for change of valuation notice is what was last year's, what is this year's.
Okay.
This is, we just follow the statutes when it comes to notifying a person of the change in this taxable status, whether it's greenbelt, exempt, reclassifying the property.
Okay, I'm looking at how can we do something better, because I think, and when you look at 50 parcels, if most of them were $200 or less, let's say 40 of them were, I mean, how many people would really be coming in here for that $200 if they knew that from the beginning? But what this letter does, and I'm not here criticizing anybody. I'm trying to look forward, because as I sat here and listened to everything, and then I saw what the actual effect is on the taxes, then I'm looking at it a little bit differently, because, and I will say this, when I look at this and I see $191, I can tell you, me personally, just on my house in Sarpy County, it's gone up almost $40,000 in valuation the last 3 years. So it's $120,000, and I'm now paying almost twice as much in taxes. And again, I'm not, because I'm paying also city, I'm paying a lot of different things here. And we're trying to address from the state level and here locally, trying to address the taxes, and the valuations are one thing and then taxes are another thing, but they do, one affects the other one. There's no doubt about it. So again, I'm just trying to say, when we send things out, can we give people a better understanding of what is actually taking place? Because your staff and everybody's being called, and we're spending a lot of time on this issue, and you're telling me there's 50 of them. If I say each one is $1,000, we're talking total $50,000. Now, in aggregate, not a lot of money, but small business and everything, it does affect them. So I just think we need to do as much as we can. And I know, Dan, I know, Mr. Pittman, that you're on the valuation, the assessment side. But I really think we need to look at that and give them that breakdown of this is what it was, this change makes it this now, and then actually based on the prior year's tax rate, here's what how it affects you. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Does anybody have other questions for Mr.
No, other than say, thanks come in, but I know even if you would have got a letter and said this affected you $100, you would have been here.
Well, yes, and I guess I'd like to say one more. I don't want to pay $191.
No, and I understand that.
And the other thing is, it seems like anytime they make a move, and I know this has nothing to do, I mean, it's evaluation, we're talking about taxes, but as soon as they deem me non-agriculture, is there going to be certain things, I'm already restricted. I put up a new shop and I could not build it more than 1.5 times the square footprint of my house, so I put up a 42 by 63 building, but that's all the bigger I could put up because I already am restricted in what I can do in ag. And I'm just, sometimes we start going down these roads, pretty soon I'm not going to be able to park anything that's chemically related, which we don't, but we're storing seed. I just don't know where this goes.
Yeah.
It's probably my other concern. But I thank you for your time.
Looking at your picture, I mean, it's a farm.
Yeah, if this is not an ag valuation, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? I mean, that's our living. If that's not ag, I really don't know what it is. What would be?
Yeah.
Are the other properties that you have in your name?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm glad to learn that today too, because that's something we could do too. And I've heard, I don't know if that works. You can go through the FSA and I can write. I don't know if they can pull the two farms together if they're not contiguous, but I don't know what that does for. Anyway, there's a lot of things we could maybe look into that.
Yeah, this just affects anything 5 acres or less.
Right. If we put the two together, then it'd be 53, 54 acres. So,
And what I'm going to say to everybody that is still here regarding this, call your state senator.
yes, that's probably the biggest thing.
Call them
And I will.
and let them know. Let them know what this is doing.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in. All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned, and we will go back into, or I guess, am I calling to order the Board of Commissioners?
Are you going to do one final count of that? Because this is where I added all the rest of them into this motion. So I'd like to see a motion on
Okay.
I think we have to vote.
5 you just addressed, and I've got them all in the details. I just need a vote count as holding for 1 week.
Okay. Commissioner Warren moves, and who seconded? Don Kelly seconds. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Now all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. And we will go back into the Board of Commissioners. And we'll start with item number 4, Commissioners, Administrator announcements and comments. We'll start with Commissioner Mixon.
I was going to ask for a restroom break.
No, we're not taking one. So do you have no comments then?
No comments.
Jim?
None. I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate Lee Polikoff again for 50 years. That's pretty amazing. You know, when I first met Lee, it was the first day I met Gary. We were standing before Lee trying to become the next county commissioner. We didn't get selected. I don't know why, but I argued with Lee as part of my interview about taxation. And I had not met Lee before that day. And justifiably so, I did not get the position. And I learned a valuable lesson that serves me to this day. Don't ever argue with the county attorney. It just doesn't pay. So congratulations, Lee, for your 50 years.
Boy, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
That's right.
Yeah. But we're here now and we're bookends.
That's right.
Dan? Okay.
It's perseverance.
We'll move on to item number 5, the Consent Commissioners agenda. Would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent
Motion
agenda?
to approve as published.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item number 6.1 is an executive session for imminent litigation.
I move that we, for the protection of the public interest, we move into executive session to discuss litigation.
Second.
Move to go into executive session for imminent litigation, Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Klug. Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
It is now 4:45 PM. At 4:28 PM, we went into executive session where our discussion was restricted to imminent litigation. Need a motion that we return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Mixon, seconded by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
There's that move button. Oh, she must have. Okay, okay, she moved me.
Can I just say, yeah, Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is